I grew up in a plain, unremarkable neighborhood in the middle of an ordinary town. Most of the families there had lived on that street for decades. My parents had moved away a few years before, but they left me the house. So by the time this happened, I was in my third year of living there alone. It was the kind of street where nothing dramatic ever happened until the fall, when someone new moved in. Across the street from me, a man showed up with a U-Haul one weekend and started unloading boxes. I noticed him from my window. He looked like any average person, maybe late 30s. Nothing about him stood out. I'm not the kind of person to walk over and introduce myself, so I just watched him for a moment and went back to what I was doing. For about a week after that, nothing else happened. The guy seemed to be settling in quietly, and I barely thought about it. Then, one night, I pulled into my driveway after work and saw him on the sidewalk directly in front of my house. At first, I assumed he was walking by, but as I slowed down, I realized he wasn't moving. He was standing still, staring at my house. I recognized him immediately as the new neighbor, but the way he was just frozen there sent a weird chill through me. I parked my car inside the garage and got out. In the 20 seconds it took me to step outside and go speak to him, he was already gone, not walking away slowly, gone. I didn't even hear footsteps. It struck me as odd, but I told myself maybe he was shy and had hurried off. Since I had the next day off, I figured if he had wanted to ask something or introduce himself, he could always come by then. I didn't think much about it for the rest of the night. Honestly, I forgot all about it until the next morning. While grabbing the mail, I looked over at his house. It looked quiet. No lights were on. Just as I turned back toward my own front door, I thought I saw something shift behind his upstairs window blinds, like he had been standing there watching me. I did a double take, but by then the blinds had already moved back into place. It unsettled me, but I brushed it off. Maybe he was just looking out his window at the same time I glanced over. I told myself it wasn't a big deal. I spent that day doing chores and then relaxing with Netflix and YouTube. Still, I kept getting this strange gut feeling that eyes were on me. A few times, I peeked through my curtains to check. Every time, nothing. Once it got dark, I figured the day was over. But right before I went to bed, I looked out one more time. That's when I saw him again. He was standing at the very end of my driveway. Something about his posture made me think he had just been closer to the house seconds before I caught him. I opened the front door and stepped outside. I wasn't angry. I was trying to act normal, like a friendly neighbor, and maybe figure out what was going on. As soon as he noticed me, he started walking down the sidewalk at a casual pace, pretending like he was just out for a stroll. I called out to him a couple times. He didn't look back. I walked halfway down my driveway, but realized he had no intention of stopping. So I gave up and went back inside. That was the first moment I really felt creeped out. Why would a new neighbor be hanging around my house at night? Why was he staring at me from his window? None of it made sense. I stayed up late, just in case something else happened. Nothing did, but that gut feeling wouldn't go away. It took a long time to finally fall asleep, and even then I was restless. In the middle of the night, I woke up in a cold sweat. My whole body sat upright without me thinking. I couldn't explain why, but I felt extremely on edge. The house was silent. Still, my heart was racing, and my eyes felt wide open. I reached over and turned on the lamp. The room looked normal. Nothing seemed wrong. Yet the feeling that someone was near wouldn't go away. I got out of bed and walked to my bedroom door. My hand was on the lock, about to open it, when something inside me said not to. It was like my instincts were screaming at me to stop. I left the door locked and pressed my ear against it instead. At first, there was nothing. Then, faintly, I heard soft creaks in the hallway. It could have been the house settling, but it didn't sound like that. I crouched down and looked under the door. The hallway was dark. I saw nothing at first. Then something moved past the bottom of the door, quickly. I jerked back, trying not to make a sound. The creaking stopped. Whoever it was had heard me. For a moment, it was silent. Then heavy footsteps came right up to the other side of the door. I stayed pressed against my bed frame, barely breathing. Under the crack of the door, I saw the shadow of boots. They shifted around for a second. Then suddenly, the entire bottom of the door went dark, blocked by something. I leaned in slowly. It took a second for my eyes to adjust. That's when I saw it, an eye, looking directly at me from the other side. He was lying on the floor, peeking under the door. I jumped up and grabbed my phone. My hands were shaking so badly that it was hard to even hit 911. Meanwhile, I could hear him moving around outside my room, heavy thumps against the floor. By the time I was off the call with the dispatcher, everything had gone quiet again. I didn't dare open the door. When the police arrived, they searched the house, but found no one inside. I immediately told them about the new neighbor across the street. They went over to his place. It was 2 a.m, but he answered the door. He was clearly awake. One thing led to another, and he slipped up. He mentioned something about my house that he shouldn't have known. The police took him in right there. Later, they confirmed what I had already guessed. He was the one who had broken into my home that night. They found evidence he'd been watching me for much longer than I realized. His search history had my name in it multiple times, even before he'd moved in. There's a real chance he had moved there specifically to be near me. He also had other disturbing incidents on his record. Because of that, they didn't let him go easily. I was told he would be locked up for a long time. Even knowing that, I haven't gone a day without thinking about it. It's hard not having every answer. Why me? What exactly was he planning that night? My instincts tell me it wasn't just to watch me. He had something worse in mind. I still believe I was lucky. My gut feeling kept me from unlocking that door.